Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Well, welcome if you're joining me here this morning. Oh, nobody's watching it. Interesting. Okay, I'll hold on, see if anyone pitches up. Hello. Let's see. Anyway, let's get going anyway. Hi. For those of you who are just pitching up, welcome to Monday Motivation. I'm not Laura, as you might tell. I'm Drew. I'm Laura's co-founder in Club Soda. Laura is having a very well-deserved week off this week. So I am pitching up to talk to you about what's going on in Club Soda this week and some of the ways that we might help you. So if you are, whether you're really new to the community, if you've just joined us recently, or you've been with us for a while, Club Soda basically exists to help you change your drinking and to live well. So whether you're somebody who's thinking about cutting down or thinking about quitting altogether, we are absolutely here for you. It really doesn't matter to us whether you've been with us for 5 minutes or you've been with us for 5 years. Club Soda is something which exists for all of us and to give us the support that we need. So I wanted to just kind of tell you a bit about what's going on in Club Soda this week. And then a little bit about how we can support you to change. So it's Monday. Monday is our big day for our blog. We've got an amazing story on the blog this week, written by Nia. Nia is a member of our community. She's also somebody that I met a couple of years ago when I was living down in Wales, and we got to know each other a bit. And Nia's now writing for us on a regular basis. If you ever read any of our features about people who've changed their drinking, it's most likely that Nia's interviewed them. But this week, Nia's actually sharing her own story about grief and loss and her experiences of miscarriage and her mum's death, and how grief and loss and quitting drinking for her have all been mixed up together in different ways. And it is really it's a really inspiring read. It's a really amazing story, actually, of how Nia has overcome her challenges with drinking and really using drinking as a way of numbing herself, and how, with the death of her mum last year, actually being sober through that has supported and sustained her. It's not an easy read, but I really encourage you to read it if you've been touched by loss during the pandemic, and so many of us have. Nia's story is really inspiring, so I'd encourage you to read it. It's out on the blog this week. If you're signed up to our email newsletter, you would have got an email today about it. If you haven't, go to our website, find the mailing list, and we'll let you know every time a new blog goes live. So that's today. On Wednesday this week, a couple of things happen. One is that I write a weekly column for Club Soda called Ask Drew. It's really, I guess, kind of a problem page I get to play agony on for the day, and answer really common questions and concerns that people have about changing their drinking. Coming up this week is actually all about dealing with hangover shame. So if you're somebody who's maybe you've changed your drinking a while ago and everything's going fine, but every now and again you just remember what you were like before you changed your drinking, and you remember, that feeling of shame that we get with thinking about hangovers in the past. This week is all about that. The other thing that happens on Wednesday, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT, is that I run a mindfulness meditation and discussion group. It's called the Breathing Space, and it's for people who are signed up to our longer courses. So we've got two big courses in Club Soda, one called How to Drink Mindfully, the other called How to Stop Drinking. They do what they say on the tin. They are How to Stop Drinking is for people who want to take a break from drinking or stop drinking for now or maybe forever. How to Drink Mindfully is really designed for people who want to moderate or cut down, or if you're not sure and you're exploring your options, How to Drink Mindfully is a really good option for you. And as part of those courses, they're 31 lessons long. You can take as long as you need over them. We're here to support you through all of that. You get to join our private Slack channel, and you also get an invitation to our weekly mindfulness meditation motivation and discussion group. Last week we had 18 people pitch up, which was fairly astonishing. So if you want to be among them, sign up to one of our longer courses. If you don't know how you might want to change your drinking and you're just exploring your options, we've also got a free course called How to Change Your Drinking, which is, completely free. It's got a self-assessment about your drinking habits. It's got some information about how to use alcohol-free drinks if you're cutting down or quitting. And it's also got some basics of mindfulness and how mindfulness and changing your drinking fit together. Really good starting point, and will help you decide whether you need further support over the longer term to help your change. It's what we're here for. And then the final thing that's happening this week is on Friday, our podcast comes out. For those of you who aren't subscribed to our podcast, it's brilliant. I mean, of course, I'd say that, but genuinely, it is. You can find it on all the major podcast platforms, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. If you go to our website, which I found that way, and join clubsoda.com/podcast, you'll find all of our last episodes. This Friday is all about long distance running and the relationship between that and what you learn from long distance running and how you keep yourself going if you're changing your drinking. So it's Laura and Anya, Anya who writes for us, and Laura, obviously, who's my co-founder. And they're joined by a health writer who's going to be talking about the benefits of long distance running. So if you're thinking about maybe switching up your exercise routine, or you want some inspiration to keep you going, the Friday's podcast is for you. So one of the other things that we do on these Monday motivations is that we talk about kind of really common problems and issues around motivation. And the one that I wanted to touch on today was about what you do if you're feeling stuck. And it's actually prompted by something that somebody said in one of our small groups. We run small groups, by the way, for anyone who's doing how to change your drinking. If you want a smaller group to chat to, there's a little free Facebook group that you can join. But you have to sign up to How to Change Your Drinking first. Somebody says, oh yeah, the podcast is if you're using running as a coping mechanism, brilliant distraction, brilliant way of moving your body. The podcast is on Friday for you. But somebody posted on the in one of our small groups over the weekend about feeling a bit ambivalent about change, about feeling some of the benefits of changing drinking, but then also kind of thinking, is it worth it in the long run? And I think a lot of us get stuck with that. It's a really common issue that comes up, particularly when we're at the beginning of change, or if we hit a difficult patch, and difficult times will happen whenever we're trying to change anything big. It's really easy to get a bit stuck. And there's a couple of reasons that we get stuck, and understanding those is really helpful in getting yourself unstuck. So the most common reason that we get stuck is because our brains naturally are really bad at making decisions between short-term pain and long-term gain. It's something which is just inherent in human nature. Hi, welcome. Thanks for saying hello. It's something that's really inherent in human nature, that we find those kinds of trade-offs really difficult to deal with at a cognitive level. We find it really easy to go with short-term pleasure and not think about the consequences, the difficult consequences in the long term. And if we're facing difficulty in the short term, we can find ourselves, the idea that things will be better in the long term just feels a bit far away and a bit abstracted, to be honest. Balancing that short-term pain against long-term gain is something which is a problem. It's not just you. You're not the only one who experiences this. It's a common issue in the way that we humans think about change. And so I'm going to really encourage you, if you're somebody who gets caught between, it feels difficult right now, I know it's going to be good for me in the long term, but it feels difficult right now. I'm going to encourage you to focus on what's good right now. Actually forget about about the long-term issue. Very often when we're going through processes of change, we tend to discount the little benefits that we feel, and actually, if you've had one morning waking up without a hangover, you'll know how good that feels, particularly if you're somebody who's been caught in a pattern of, daily or near daily drinking. You'll know how good waking up without a hangover feels, but that feeling's really easy to forget and move on from. So I'd really encourage you, if you're caught between short-term pain and long-term gain, is just focus on the now, focus on what's really good right now. And actually, there's a really simple practice, which is about gratitude, finding 3 things that are good today. They can be big things or little things, they can be life-changing or they can be inconsequential, but find 3 things that you're grateful for today, and really, really feel those things. The second reason that we get stuck is just about the nature of ambivalence. That kind of sense of, part of me really wants to change and a part of me doesn't want to change. Again, this is a really normal part of the process of change. One of the things to remember about ambivalence, of course, is that the reason that you feel it at all is that there is part of you which isn't yet ready for change. There's a part of you that is, then there's a part of you that isn't. To be honest, if you were all set up and raring to go, you wouldn't even be having this conversation with yourself at all. So if you are feeling ambivalence, one of the things that people might encourage you to do is just kind of ignore the bits of you which are feeling reluctant to change. I'm actually going to encourage you to really interrogate those feelings. There is a part of you that is happy, believe it or not, even if you're in the midst of change and you're thinking, my drinking is out of control and I need to sort it, but you're feeling still stuck and you're wrestling with it, there is a part of you that gets something out of not changing. There's a part of you that's invested in things staying exactly how you are. And that part of you is something really to take seriously. It's a part of you that deserves listening to and caring for, because that part of you has found a useful tool in drinking which solves its problems. And if you're going to take drinking away, there's a part of you that maybe feels scared or reluctant, or feels like, actually, I don't know how to cope if I change. So I'd really encourage you to be kind to that part of yourself. For those of us who are parents, we know that some of being kind to our kids is actually not letting them have their own way. It's about finding ways to support them to do the right thing, to reassure them, to calm them, to reward them, to encourage them to do the right thing. So I'd really encourage you, if you've got a part of you which is feeling reluctant about change, to approach it in exactly the same way that you would a small child. Be kind to yourself, nurture yourself, sell yourself the benefits of change, listen to what the problem is and try and address those underlying needs. It may be that there's a part of you that doesn't want to change because change feels scary, so you can encourage yourself that you are going to keep yourself on track. Sorry, my phone's ringing in the background, do ignore that. So I'm just going to really encourage you, whatever's going on right now, be really, really kind to yourself. Ambivalence is something that you can get over. You will get over. It's part of the natural process of change. So I'm just going to really encourage you to get going. Somebody just said, ambivalence gets me every time. About day 50, I start to think, I can manage my drinking in confidence myself. I can moderate. Okay, so this is a whole other issue. I'm going to touch on that really briefly. So actually, we've got some content on the Club Soda website about moderation and whether moderation might be right for you in the long term. One of the things which I'm going to really encourage you to do, if some of your ambivalence to change is about, I don't know whether moderation might work for me, and I don't know whether going alcohol free, what I'm going to encourage you to do is to step back from that decision. It's genuinely not as big and life-changing as you imagine that it is. You can approach this issue with some curiosity, asking yourself questions, noticing what you need, noticing what works. You're not tied into any particular way of changing your drinking over time, but it's very useful every now and again to step back and have an honest conversation with yourself about where your limits are, to notice, am I the kind of person who can have one drink, or is one drink going to turn into many drinks, or am I somebody who can have a couple of drinks but then I need to stop? Really just useful to notice that. And if you're somebody genuinely, and there are people like this in the community, you come to the conclusion that you don't have an off switch, genuinely very often your safest, easiest, least emotionally challenging and difficult way of dealing with change in the long term is just to decide to go alcohol free, and to save yourself the hassle and the wrestling and the struggle. If you want to explore that in more detail, both of our courses, both How to Stop Drinking and How to Drink Mindfully, will give you tools and ways of approaching that issue so that you can work out how to deal with it in the long term. You're absolutely not alone in facing the decision. So I'd encourage you to continue to talk about it, seek other people's advice, but most importantly, have an honest conversation with you about the kind of life that you want to live, whether you want alcohol to play a part in it, and whether you can sustain that kind of change in the long term, and genuinely what's going to be easiest for you. None of this in the end should feel difficult. There is so much to gain from changing your drinking, and there is so little to gain from continuing to struggle with something that doesn't work for you. So it can feel like a very brave decision to let alcohol go if you're in that situation, but honestly, and for some people moderation does work, I'm not going to discount that, but honestly, for some people you come to the point where you go, I just can't get it to work and I'm going to move on. So if that's you, I'm just going to encourage you to be curious about that, to notice what works, and ultimately to make the decision which is easiest for you. So that's it. I'm going to wrap this up now just with a brief recap of what's going on this week. So we've got a blog out today on grief and loss. We've got an Ask Drew this week, which is all about dealing with hangover shame. There's the breathing space this week. If you're on one of our longer courses, you can find out information about those at joinclubsoda.com/courses. And this Friday, our podcast is out, and it's all about long distance running, keeping going for the long term. Yeah, I hope whatever else happens, you have an amazing week ahead of you. Whether you had a brilliant weekend or a terrible weekend, Monday is a new day. So I hope that this week is full of good things for you. If you are on our longer programs, I'll look forward to seeing you in the breathing space on Wednesday. And otherwise, have a brilliant week. Take good care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves, and most of all, cheers. All right, take care. Bye-bye.